mess.
What a Wednesday night, huh? 5 games tonight, but the only games that mattered were Dallas and Arizona and Vegas and Chicago. The scenario was simple. There's one spot left in the playoffs overall, and Dallas could get it. All they had to do was get 1 point. Just go to overtime. Or Vegas can lose. But if Dallas gets that 1 point, that's it. They're in, and Vegas would be out. And it started off well for Dallas. They were up 3-0 in that game. And they were up 3-0 after 2 periods. But it was back and forth for Chicago. But entering the third period, it was tied at 3. Nothing was happening in the third period in Chicago, but too much was happening in the third period in Dallas. First off, Arizona ended the shot, but I went, that's all right. It's still 3-1. Then they scored again, and I'm going, Dallas, what are you doing? But they still had a lead. Then they commit a penalty, and then Dallas commits another penalty. So they were 2 men down, 5-on-3. Arizona scores. They were still on the power play after that, but it's killed off. But it's 3-3. Now that creates some drama because the clock's still on their side, but they can't. But they really have to play tight. And I think, meanwhile, in Chicago, they're going to overtime, and then they go to the shootout. But as the shootout's commencing, time is running down. Remember, they needed to make it to overtime, and there was about 3 minutes left. And as the shootout was commencing and continuing, nothing was going in round after round. The clock was running down. It was down to 2 minutes left. It was down to 2 minutes. Then a minute and a half. Then 60 seconds. Then 30. Then 20. Then 10. Then the clock stopped at 7.5 seconds. And when all was said and done, they made it to overtime. They made it to overtime as the shootout was coming to its close nearly. So even before the shootout was finished, Dallas got the point. They're in the playoffs. Congratulations to them. Now, the one bad note from this, they did lose the game in overtime. But even though Arizona got the 2 points, Dallas got the one they needed. Dallas got the one they needed to make the playoffs. And as for Vegas, well, oh my God, Vegas is out of the playoffs for the first time ever. Can you believe it? Couldn't happen to a nicer team. Look how they tried to buck the system. Look how dirty they are when they play. Look how arrogant they are, even though they've won absolutely nothing. They had that first year where they made it to the final, and it got in their heads, and then they constantly complain to referees, even though they get all sorts of calls. Referees have been holding their hands for each of the last 2 seasons. And then they tried to trade Dodonov, knowing good and damn well that the team that they tried to send him to, he had a no trade clause with him. He didn't want to come to Orange County. They knew that. They lied and said, "Well, we didn't know." You knew, okay? What did Roger Goodell say when Bountygate happened? If you're in charge, you should know. So, all I can say about Vegas missing the playoffs this year for the first time in franchise history in year 5 is 3 simple words: karma's a bitch. But anyway, congratulations to the Dallas Stars. The Sweet 16 of 2022 is complete. Now it's just seeding that's up for grabs here. And here's how it goes out. Now, Dallas moved 1 point ahead of Nashville as far as positioning, wild card positioning, because The first wild card in the West will face Calgary. The second wild card in the West will face Colorado. And Dallas is 1 point ahead of Nashville in the race for higher seeding. They have one game. They have one final game left. Nashville has 2 games left, which will be played in each of the final 2 games of the season. Um, the most they can get is 99. Nashville, that is. But Dallas only has the 1 game left, and the most they can get is 98. So what has to happen? Nashville needs to lose one. Yeah, Nashville needs to lose one in regulation. That'll knock 2 points off the magic number for wild card 1. And then if Dallas wins their final game, that'll put them up to 98 points to 95 should they lose in regulation, and that'll clinch it. So Dallas's magic number to get wild card 1 and face Calgary is 4 points, a combination of 4 points. The same goes for, I think if my math's correct, I want to say it's 3 for Nashville. I think it is. Let's see, because Nashville's at 95 points. Say they win, they won't. They're playing Colorado. But they win, they'll move up to 97, move past Dallas. Their magic number is 3 points. Nashville needs 3 points to get wild card 1 and face Calgary. Whoever gets wild card 2 faces Colorado. So once again, congratulations to Dallas for making the playoffs, and for the Vegas Golden Knights. You ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell out of the playoff picture because you're not in it anymore. So I will be back on YouTube on Friday night, because that's when really the regular season ends. Yes, I know there's a makeup game played on the first, but really the regular season ends on Friday, because that's when the playoff matchups will be cemented. Or at least it should be cemented by Friday, if not by tomorrow. So one more time, congrats to Dallas, and screw you, Vegas. And I'll be back on Friday, so stay tuned.